Hey friends, my name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Let me click play on, not play, let me click pause on this so that there's not two of me talking. What's up, people? That's the Cineglide blasting around an open field. And yeah, we're going to talk about, you know, FPV is rough. FPV will humble your ass in a hurry. And yesterday, FPV humbled me over and over and over again. Yeah, yesterday was a rough day. All I wanted to do yesterday was get this thing outside again, put a bunch of these different high-pitch, crazy propellers on it, ramp the throttle from 0 to 70 or 80 with the 03 recording, to see which props have more jello than others, whop it around, check the flight performance, check the prop wash handling, but instead FPV happened. I don't know. Like it was just absolutely ridiculous. Whoever just subscribed, thank you very much. Welcome to the madness. This build is an old school frame that I don't think you can get anymore. It's the FPV Cycle Cineglide. It's a cinematic version of the Glide. Bob pushed the FPV camera way out here on the nose and dropped the HD camera down. It's then got like a regular top plate like all the other glides where you put the battery. So the battery sits up a little bit higher. The HD and FPV cameras sit really far forward. The arms are glide arms, like they'll work on any glide. They are dead cat, and they're designed for 5.5-inch props. These are 5.1s on here right now. I've been testing a bunch of really pitchy 5.1-inch props and 5.5-inch props to see what performed the best on this. This build is for live broadcast. The reason that I did this originally is to have something where the FPV camera has no prop in view whatsoever, which is pretty rare. Usually your FPV camera has props in view, but then your HD camera either doesn't or just has them in the corners just a tiny little bit. There aren't many frames that push the FPV camera far forward enough and have dead cat arms where the super wide angle FPV camera is no prop in view. One of the requirements when you do live broadcast work is that there's no prop in view. So that's originally why I built this frame. I think the gig was chasing dirt track oval cars, which will spike up to like 100 miles an hour. And so I wanted to build something nice and big so that and you know, those are cars, not people wearing t-shirts. And so you can fly death machines around cars and not kill anyone. In the chat, Eco was first, Bad was next, Flycadelic, Render, Mr. Batch, Gusto FPV, Smoking Dog, Cujo, Four Little Pigs, Islander FPV, Tamava, Morton Upshot, Botanically Enhanced, Hoverfish, Gusto, Andrew Taylor, Margus, Brent Anderson, Thrash FPV, Dave S, Swiss Links, Uriel, Zeft, Thrash FPV, Danzel the Terrible, Casper, Capital C, Uriel, Dave S, Wilbur, and Kevin. Hello! What's up, friends? If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, just type CiottiFPV into your message. When you do that, for me, my own name lights up in orange. You guys can do that with each other. If you want to get Tamava's attention in your chat message, type TEHMAVEH. Don't put any extra letters on there. You have to spell it right. And if there's spaces, you have to put the spaces in the right places. That rhymes. And every time I say it, I kind of feel cool, but I kind of feel like an asshole. Thrash FPV says, no way I got in my car after blowing up an AIO, and then the stream and title got put up. Yeah, I've done a lot of things in my life. I'm 44 now. I've done a lot of... Yes, I know I don't look like it, but I am. There's no getting around it. I've done a lot of different things in life. Played drums early in my life, played race cars in my 20s and 30s, was an instructor for many years, still photography, went to school for TV radio, worked took a class in the TV studio and in the radio studio, lots of other things that I'm sure I'm forgetting. I've done many things in life, and time again, nothing is like FPV. Nothing is as difficult, just straight up difficult, top to bottom. Nothing like has so many things that can go wrong just right after one after the next. It's truly insane. Also, nothing that I've done has such an insane failure rate. Like, pay money for things that are supposed to function and they no function. So welcome, friends. If you've been into FPV for more than 6 months, boy, you are susceptible as shit to Stockholm syndrome, eh? Don't worry, I am too. Thrash FPV says, tips for shooting fireworks. Got my first 2 paid gigs lined up. Well, not weirdly, 4th of July is coming up, but we talked about that last stream. You need to limit your ISO, and your ISO is the main thing that you need to limit. If you have auto ISO on, it's going to try to turn the blackness of night into medium gray. This is what the exposure algorithm on cameras does, is it tries to make as much of the frame as possible gray. they understand that you're going to have bright shit and that you're going to have dark shit. And so it looks, there are different ways that you can tell it to meter, spot metering, center weighted. Action cameras don't really have that. I think you can spot meter with them, but regardless, they're trying to balance out the entire frame and get gray for the whole, for basically the whole frame. So if you fly at night where everything's going to be black and then you're going to get a really bright, tiny little firework that goes off very quickly, the exposure algorithm in the camera is going to crank the ISO way up, which is going to give you a ton of noise and look like ass. And it's going to try to turn the black night into gray night, which is going to look stupid. And then when a firework goes off, initially it's going to be way too bright and just white. And then it's going to try to adjust, and it's going to speed the shutter speed up. It's going to turn the ISO down to try to expose for that firework. So the firework is going to go from white and totally blown out into like a color, and then it's going to fade away, and then the exposure algorithm is going to do it again, and it's going to try to turn the world into gray. So you have to limit it. You can't let the ISO go all the way up into the clouds. See what I did there? I didn't do that on purpose, I swear. So limit your ISO to a maximum of like 400, maybe even 200. And then decide if you're going to shoot 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. I have an edit here on the channel where I flew inside of fireworks at 60 frames a second, and it's about the coolest thing ever. That was arguably my favorite night of flying ever, and it's maybe one of my favorite edits ever. It's what's really funny is it's an edit. It's the edit that I did the least amount of work on. Which is, I mean, that's not super surprising. When if the footage is good enough, you don't have to do much work in the edit. The footage will carry the edit rather than the editing carrying the edit. And so, yeah, limit your ISO. Pick if you're going to do 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second, and then use the shutter angle rule where you double it. So if you shoot 30, set your shutter speed to 1/60th of a second. If you're going to shoot 60 frames a second, set your shutter to 1/120th of a second. And that's pretty much it. Just controlling the exposure algorithm and not allowing it to try to turn night into day is the biggest thing that you want to do. The rest of your settings are, you know, I'm not going to say inconsequential, but you've probably got your other settings dialed in, right? Like sharpness to medium or low, stabilization off, stuff like that. So yeah, limit that ISO, and you'll get some great firework footage. Keep in mind that finding yourself coming home and landing in the pitch black when they set fireworks off is really tough. So when you're flying out to the fireworks, turn around frequently and find landmarks. And think of like directionality. When I flew those, they were over a baseball field, and from home plate to third base was a straight line to get my ass home, which my visual observers, Patrick and Seneca, noticed. And so stuff like that, like if there's a line of cars and they're perfectly lined up to bring you back home, that's going to be super important. I don't know why. I don't know what's struggling on this computer and causing the shit frame rate, but hopefully it chills out and functions as it has with every other live stream that I've done. So yeah, there you go, friend. Denzel the Terrible says, hello, you larrikin? I don't know, what's a larrikin? I don't know what a larrikin is. Hooligan, delinquent, ne'er-do-well rascal. What's up, brother? Denzel also says, back-to-back problems are fun, but for a good time, nothing beats overlapping problems in FPV. Yeah, they're the best. They're the best. When multiple things die at the same time, ooh, that makes the troubleshoot really nasty. Jay-Z is in the house. He says, do you know if HDZero are releasing new flagship version 2 goggles, not the box goggles? I have no idea. I heard somebody talking to Joshua about that on his live stream. That was news to me. I watch Joshua to get the news just like you guys. I don't have... Nobody really tells me anything beforehand. Even if someone does tell me something beforehand, I can't tell you guys on a public live stream. So, but in this case, I had no idea. Thrash FPV says, when did you hit 10,000 subscribers? I guess it was earlier this year, maybe. I think I'm up over 11 now. Subscribers don't mean anything. Having a good community of people that respect the work that you do and support you is all that matters. I'll take 10 subscribers that support me and appreciate what I do and you know, are active in the community on Discord and stuff like that, over 100,000 subscribers that are 16-year-old kids that only want to watch shorts. No offense to 16-year-old kids, but you know, they're not my people. My people are you guys. Flyzone says yes, agreed. All right, so here's the whole story of yesterday. So I did a little bit of testing in the middle of the week last week on this rig, but I made a couple mistakes and forgot a couple things, and had to go back out and do it again. What I'm trying to figure out is which propellers I want to run on this rig, and then I can put it up on the wall, and it can wait for a gig where it's the right tool for the job. And so I was all jazzed up, man. I'm like, great, I made the mistakes during the week. Now I know what I need to do to best test these propellers. I was really excited to test these 5149 9s. By the way, these are the propellers that was on this thing in the intro flight footage. So I was all excited. You know how that is. It's going outside to fly. It's great. Mistake number one that I didn't even know until I got home. So I was, the plan was to go out in the middle of the day. What's happening? In the middle of the day when the sun was super bright. Okay, so some of these super pitchy propellers are old school propellers. Old school propellers are not as well balanced as newer props. And so this rig is an 03 carrier. 03 can sometimes struggle with jello. And I realized this when I did the testing in the middle of the week. But I accidentally threw away the flight files that were from the 03, so I couldn't check them. So I was like, all right, cool. Important, go out, make sure the 03 is ready to go to collect flight footage, and then I can watch it back. I just took this. This is the memory card that I use in the 03. And it was in the computer. So, the majority of the reason that I was going out to test was blown. I'm now going to put this into the VTX. I'll tell you what, having a micro SD card in the VTX, in the action camera, and in the goggles, that's kind of annoying. Not the end of the world, but that's kind of annoying. So that was the first main mistake that I only figured out last night, is that, yeah, the 03 didn't record at all. I have the goggle footage, but it's not high enough quality to really be able to see jello. Maybe there is no jello, but when I was in the goggles, there certainly was none. And so playing back the goggle DVR is not going to accomplish anything. So yeah, there's mistake number one. Mistake number two, I guess, was just flying a cinematic rig when I'm not like on set in a situation where like I have to be careful and I absolutely can't crash. So, just in general, just flying a rig that I can't crash. I guess that was the next biggest mistake, because all I did was crash. And like cinematic rigs, you can crash them, but they explode when you crash them because they're not designed to crash. And so, yeah, I guess flying this thing in general was mistake number two, even though I needed to. But like, yeah. So there's a high school that it's kind of a boring spot to fly. It's where I flew during the week last week. It's pretty close. It's become like my testing spot. Lots of room. Nobody bothers me. Whatever. Yesterday was Saturday. Drive out to the spot. All the gates are closed to this high school. There's no way to get in. Like, bro, our tax dollars pay for that shit. What? Like, I get that it's a high school, but like, we pay for that. We should be able to run on the track or use the fucking monkey bars. What is this shit? So I didn't have a spot. I don't understand. I would love to know why this computer is being such a giant steaming pile of shit. I have activity monitor up. I'll see if I can glance down at it when it's freaking out and see what's killing it. So that was absolute and utter insanity. But I thought I was slick. There was like a business park next to it. So I drove to this business park, and then there was like a little like grass embankment that went up that was covered in leaves and shit. And I was like, oh, I can just park here in this little business park, and then I'll just grab my shit, I'll run up the little hill, and then I can fly from like the edge. I thought in my head, like my sense of direction, thought that that's where the high school was. I'm like, oh, this will be fine. Kind of annoying because I'll have to run up and down this hill, but it'll be fine. I go to run up the hill to check just to make sure that it's actually the high school on the other side. And there were so many leaves that, and I didn't realize quite how steep it was, that my feet came out from under me, and I put my hands down, and I just happened to grab with my left hand onto like some kind of a vine with a whole bunch of thorns on it. And all of those thorns went all up into my hand, and all the little tips of the thorns broke off. So now I've got it's OBS too. Oh, okay. Wow, that's it. We gotta get that shot out of there. That's horrifying. So now I have a handful of splinters. I thought maybe I could just suck it up, but it started to really, really hurt, and there were like a whole bunch of them. There were like 6 or 7 in there. So now I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. I gotta go home and get these splinters out. I can't fly with like there were splinters like on my fingertips and shit, and it was like there was one in like the webbing of my thumb. Like it sucks, man. It sucked. So I'm like, fuck this. I have to fix this. I had a little bit extra time. Drive all the way back here, get the 5X loop in my eyeball, sit here with fucking tweezers, pulling splinters / thorns out of my fingers. The one here I actually couldn't get. Maggie had to help me. Eventually she gets that one out. Now my hand no longer has 7 or 8 splinters in it. I go back out because, you know, at this point, the universe has made it very obvious to me. Well, I didn't know that I'd forgotten the memory card. I was pissed off that the gates were closed. I was pissed off about the thorns. Though, those two things are the universe's way of saying, like, hey, brother, play DayZ. Don't go back outside, you stubborn son of a bitch. But, you know, if you're gonna be tough, if you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough. You guys remember that from Jackass? It was in a song. And so I go back out. I'm like, you know what? I bet you I can fly at Florence's high school, which is in the ass opposite direction, a little bit farther away. Drive out to Florence's high school. The gates aren't down, but there's people everywhere. The parking lot's filled. There's people playing sports ball. And so that's out. Across the street is an elementary school. I'm like, let's just try it. Elementary school, gates aren't down. And they got a little behind the school. There's a pretty big field, which you just saw in the intro, that was totally flyable. I'm like, all right, not as cool as the high school, but this will work. I put a battery on it. I even, because I'm a good content creator every once in a while, I even brought my Tascam lav mic that Joshua Bardwell very kindly got me forever ago, as just like a random present because he wanted me to make better content. And so I even brought this, which was great. Put this on. I'm all good. Fucking sync claps, ready to go. Hey, we're testing these propellers. Let's do it. Take off. I'm on the other side of like one of those, I don't know, 6 foot tall fences or whatever, just like regular fence, no barbed wire, no bullshit. Didn't really like look and see that there's no gate. Whatever. Take off, fly for. Nah, hold on, ready? Hold on. Well, you guys, come along with me on the adventure that is FPV. Every single one of you that's been into FPV for more than 10 minutes has had this exact same experience. So come along for the ride with me here. You can probably see where this is going.
All right, so this is the...
Listen to me, all official. Just jazzed up, man, ready to go. I'm persevering. We're gonna do this, man. I'm a good content. I'm doing this for the fucking culture. Talking about it, not forgetting stuff. Yeah, look at me. All right, here we go. Here we go. Are you guys ready? Here we go. Still talking to the mic, giving some good commentary. Here we go, though. It's time. We're flying. All right, we're testing some propellers. We're flying the cinematic rig, so don't crash it. No matter what you do, don't crash it. The only thing you have to do, bro, is don't crash it. Just fly it like a cinematic rig. Don't crash it, though. Just keep it in the air. Just fly safe. Have fun. Maybe have a little bit of fun. Fly safe. I forget what was going on. There was something going on that I wanted to change in the OSD or whatever. It's all good. Everything's fine. We're cool. We can fly without crashing. We've been flying for almost 10 years. It's all good. We're a professional. Professional pilot here. Professional. What the hell was I changing? Here we go. All right, going back up in the air. I changed something. Awesome. Way to go, idiot. So now what has happened here, for some strange reason, in that... Okay, so I need to pause. The Cineglide frame is designed for... it doesn't matter. The Cineglide frame has screw holes drilled instead of slots for the FPV camera. And so if you use both of the screw holes, you lock the FPV camera at like, it looks like 15 to 20 degrees of up tilt. I want to run a lot more up tilt on this. This is a rig meant to go fast. So I want to run 30, 35, 40 degrees. So in order to do that, I'm just running the top screws in the O3 camera, and I have them cranked pretty tight. And so I can then push the up tilt. And there's a bunch of resistance on that. Like when you push this thing into up tilt, like it's hard. Like you got to really push on this camera. And I've done that before, and it's been totally fine. Something about that stupid ass little crash right there sent this camera up to about 60 to 70 degrees of up tilt. You can't see it because this is the Session 5 footage on a TPU mount that's not going to change up tilt. But I am now at like 60, 70 degrees of up tilt. So I'm like this, okay? Which is difficult. At this point, Actually, no, not at this point. At this point, I realized that there's a lot of up tilt because the whole top of my camera frame is the bottom of the GoPro. I'm like, it'll be fine. I'll just fly out of the bottom of the screen. I'll be fine. It's gonna be alright. And I do have to come home at this point and replace these props because I've now banged them all up, and a part of the testing that I'm doing is for, but keep in mind, I'm at 60 degrees of up tilt. There you go. That's obviously what's gonna happen next, is I'm gonna smash it into a fucking brick building. And so now I'm pissed. Now I'm like full-blown mad. Like, really, dude, you couldn't just relax and limp the damn thing home? Now I go into turtle mode, and the grass is super deep, and none of the props will spin. Although it sounds like one spun, I guess, but then the grass is too deep. They hadn't mowed the grass. So now is when I take the goggles off. I'm like, great, I have to take the walk of shame. I now take the goggles off and realize that there's no gate, and I have to jump a 6-foot-high fence, which I haven't done in a while. Luckily, I'm skinny as shit. And it was actually kind of easy, which was really nice. It was really nice to somewhat easily be able to jump a proper fence. And so, yeah, walk of shame. I've now bashed the cinematic rig into a brick building, pretty hard too. The props are shot. The camera is in 7,000 degrees of up tilt. I'm also now realizing, like, shit, the way that I mount this camera with the one screw method and crank the screws really tight is not good enough to keep the up tilt. This is me figuring out where the hell it is. And so, yeah, it's getting bad. Things are getting bad at this point. I'm now frustrated. Whatever, walk of shame, I go out and grab it. And I'm like, you know what? That might be it. That might be my. And I'm like cursing and shit on the audio. I'm like, really? You fuck? I kept saying, like, I should have stayed home and tiny whooped, man. I should have fucking just stayed home and tiny whooped. What the fuck am I thinking? And so, jump the fence, grab it, throw it over the fence, jump the fence again. Take the props off, they're demolished. Put new props, decide, like, no, push through. Surely this is the worst of it. There's no way that it could possibly get any worse than this. There's no way that I could now keep. There's no way that I'll continue to crash this thing. I made the mistake. I took it off all aggressively, like I was hot shit. I made the mistake. I then tried to fly it with 1,000,000 degrees of up tilt. I made the mistake. Surely we'll be fine from now on. I can control myself to some extent. It'll be fine. We'll be all right. Put some fresh props on it. Why is this flight file so short? Maybe I say something funny. Hold on. Nope. I don't know what that was. Here we go. We got some new props on it. We're excited.
All right, so this is the Cineglide, big old brother hobby 250.
Blah 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 blah.
1850 kV motors.
So I also want to actually talk about these propellers a little bit. So let me see what these props are. Ah, you fart.
Cineglide, big old brother hobby 2507, 1850 kV motors. I've got them limited down a little bit to 90%. We're doing some prop testing here today. Kind of a boring spot, but the sun's out. It's super bright. And that's going to show any jello from props that are out of balance. Big old battery right now, Tattoo R-Line 6S 1700. These props that I'm checking out are the Gemfan 5152s.
Cool. All right. That's what I was waiting for.
That's all you need to know.
So, yeah, this is the 51.2 testing. Hey, what's up, Dad? My dad's in the chat. All right, so here we go. 5152s. Here's a little bit of testing. Little bit of I have turned up the anti-gravity a little bit, but the CG is kind of a mess on this rig. The XT60 battery lead is not quite long enough, and I can't put the batteries far enough back to get the CG balanced front to rear. And so there is still a little bit of a bobble when you jump off the throttle or on the throttle really aggressively. I'm not going to say that's to be expected. You can kind of see it there. Here, you can hear me. Ready? There's only so much that anti-gravity can do to fix that. That's a CG issue. I need to put a longer battery lead on this in order to really fix that issue the right way. You can keep cranking your anti-gravity up all the hell you want to fix that problem. That's not the right way to fix it. The right way to fix it is to correct the CG. Kind of blown away how floaty the 5152s are for just being a 5.1-inch prop. I really thought that I was going to need to run this rig on 5.5-inch propellers. But yeah, the 5-inch props have plenty of float. I think because this thing is so light. It's only like 750 grams with the 6S 1400 mAh battery. It's about 800 with this battery that's on it now. On this this flight here, which is a Tattoo 1700 6S. And so yeah, this is me doing different amounts of throttle. 50%, 55%, 60%, 65%. I'm checking for jello. I'm not going to see jello in this session 5 because it's got an ND filter. And so I didn't have the goddamn memory card in the 03, which is what I was going to use to check the jello. Here's me doing a couple of prop wash turns. The 5152s are a really impressive propeller. That little bit of prop wash is not bad for a big old rig with the CG not dialed. This thing is meant to go fast. This is what it's meant to do here. Yeah, 5152s are kind of blowing me away. But I really needed the 03 footage because I don't think that they're balanced all that well. I might end up hand balancing a bunch of them, but we'll see. I would really rather not do that, but since it's a cinematic rig, I won't be going through a lot of propellers unless I have more days like yesterday. And so I'm kind of willing to hand balance a bunch of cinematic props, and it's fine. But so yeah, just kind of whopping it around a little bit more to get a feel for how these 5152s fly. I haven't watched this yet, so I'm actually watching this for the first time right along you guys. This is a cool little moment here. There's a little hit of prop wash, but it's really not bad. 3, 2, 1, right there. That's the reason why I fly like this, is to put it into, like, you can do prop wash turns all day. You typically don't do a prop wash turn in real life. You do stuff like that in real life, and you put it into a situation where it's kind of in its own wash. And so that's why, like, even with cinematic rigs, I'll go out and push them a little bit like this and kind of freestyle them around, because you'll put them into a weird situation like that where they do still get a little bit of prop wash, and that little situation there is kind of a real life scenario. And that means more than just doing specific prop wash turns back to back to back to back to back. But you want to do both. Prop wash turns are really important because they really sit the thing into its own wash. And if you can get it to not prop wash when you do it on purpose, a movement like that, it will typically not prop wash either. This is now a different propeller. Hold on. I want to see what prop this is. I'm now getting eaten by mosquitoes. Super annoying.
Same exact blade profile. Same exact pitch.
Okay, so this is now the 5552. Same blade design, but big, heavy, 5.5-inch, 52 pitch. So now you're probably going to see the flight performance get a little bit worse. That was a pretty big bobble when I jumped off the throttle there. I'm actually impressed at how good these propellers are. We're gonna get more float now. Look at all that float from these big 5.5-inch props. I definitely noticed that there is more float. It's bordering on being too much. But again, I'm not going to be off. I'm not going to be zero throttle. Look at that. I'm not going to be zero throttle very often in like a cinematic kind of setting. So like it kind of doesn't matter. If this was a freestyle rig I was building, I might be like, yeah, no, this is a little bit too floaty. But for a cinematic kind of build, the bigger props are going to give me more efficiency, which is kind of nice. Here's a couple of prop wash turns. The performance is not as good as the 5152s because these propellers are heavier from being bigger, and they're also more draggy from being bigger. And so that's going to hurt the response time, and the PID loop's not going to be able to eat the prop wash quite as quickly. That was the end of that same battery. The hell was that? Oh, Jesus Christ. Hold on. I hit like the N button and it did something weird. That's the one. Okay, this is the next one. Same propellers, 5552s. Things are looking up. I haven't crashed again. That's great. Testing's going well, other than the fact that there's no memory card in the goddamn 03 VTX recording the DVR that I really needed to check for the jello, which is the main effing reason that I came out. So this is the 55. This is the 5552s. I've now put a fresh battery on here. This is the GNB 6S 1500. See if you can figure out the next thing that's made me want to climb the building and jump off. That is the sound.
Oh no! I didn't put the balance lead into the little balance lead holder, and it just shredded one of the wires, 1.5 of the wires on the balance lead. God damn it, dude! It's been a rough day so far, man. First battery I crashed.
That is the sound of someone teetering on the edge of of sanity. So I use these super handy little Brain 3D prints them. I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can find a file on Thingiverse for them. They're just a super simple little 3D print here that you can get in 2S, 3S, 4S, 5S, 6S, and you put it on the battery leads, and then you take your balance lead. It's really nice. Here's the unintended thing. So we look at this and we're like, oh, a way to protect your balance lead when you're flying. Yeah, totally. But here's the really cool thing about this. I have this battery. Right now, this battery is at storage voltage because it's in a LiPo-safe bag at home. That's just my system. At some point, I'm going to take this battery out. I'm going to plug it into the charger, and it's going to be charged. And I'm going to take it from the LiPo-safe bag that sits on the shelf over here, and I'm going to put it into the LiPo-safe bag that I put into my flight bag to go fly with. And so when this battery goes into this other LiPo-safe bag that fits perfectly in my case, it's charged. I know that it's charged. The wires look like this. This means that it's charged. When I go to put this on the quad, normally I take the balance lead and I put it into here. And then that protects it so that your wires don't get shredded, which I was able to fix, by the way. And so this is now immediately put onto the quad, battery strapped down, plug it in, fly the battery. This battery is dead. When I take this off the quad, I leave this. And so when the balance lead is in here, that means that the battery is dead, because the only time that it's in here is when it's in the air, and then when it's out of it, and then when it's done. And so these things are really nice for battery management. When I come home, if I don't fly all my batteries, when I come home, these batteries that look like this are all dead. The batteries that look like this are still charged, and they need to be put on the discharger. Works really, really, really well. And I can't remember the last time that I forgot to put this balance lead into one of these things before I took off. That was I'm blown away by that oversight. But I got really lucky, and it only partially shredded the one wire. It just killed some of the silicone on the other wire, and it only took a little bit of the plastic off of the balance lead. So I got pretty lucky there. Some people use rubber bands, whatever. Use something. The other thing that's nice about these is over the years, I've bought these in a whole bunch of different colors. Violet, purple, black, red. And so when I have multiple batteries that are exactly the same, I'll put different colored, I'll put these guys on them in different colors. And so if a battery is acting weird, I can leave a note in my phone that says 1500 mAh 6S purple is acting weird. And now I have an easy identifier of the battery. You can just carry a fucking marker and put a big X on it. There's a million ways to do it, but I like these little things. Back to the action. So this is the 5552s. Again, I'm worried that look at that. Look at how reactive they are. I'm really shocked that a propeller this massive and heavy, with 5.5-inch blades that look like fucking oars for a boat, are able to be that kind of crisp. Yeah, in prop wash they struggle a little bit more, but really impressive propellers, these 5152s, and they look official as fuck. Like you put them on a rig and you're like, okay, that thing's gonna kill someone for sure. So I'm getting all jazzed up. I'm like, man, this thing flies great. There's this wall over here. There's this building and this wall over here, which is like perfect for wall rides. And so I'm like, cool, man, I can do me some wall rides. I used to fly a lot of 5-inch rigs and then took a bunch of years off and just flew stuff inside the house. I'll be fine. I can do plenty of wall rides. It's great. I'm a good pilot. I can be careful when I fly. On any other rig, on any freestyle rig, that would be no big deal whatsoever. On a cinematic rig, that's a big deal. That, especially on a cinematic rig that's a frame that's no longer made, especially in a cinematic rig where the FPV camera is all the way up front and all the way down in the bottom, that was actually pretty nasty. That was really dumb on my part. Hold on, I can't figure out how to. I have too much stuff in front of me. That innocuous little wall ride mistake took a massive chunk out of the carbon here, and now I don't know how it didn't. I guess because, see, look, like this camera is, I have these screws cranked. I don't understand how this camera is slipping when I'm crashing, but it happened multiple times. The camera was in like 40-degree up tilt at the time. So that's why it didn't rip the bottom of the 03 camera off. But yeah, these side plates are now like kind of unsafe for this 03 camera to be in. These camera plates also will not, you cannot put an 04 into this rig. It absolutely will not work. So I have to run an 03, and it's becoming harder and harder to get 03s. So this rig is kind of, this is not fly aggressive at all a bull at this point. Which, like, if I took this, I am going to take this back out and fly it, and I'm just absolutely not going to do any kind of hard flying. I'm just going to test for jello, and that's it. So, like, I'll be all right. But, yeah, that one little hit did a lot. I know it didn't look like much, but that really, really fucked up these camera plates. I just sent, before this live stream, actually, I just sent Bob a quick message. I was like, hey, man, please tell me you have at least one more set of these Cineglide camera plates floating around. I thought that I had some. I have extra base plates for this frame. I have an extra top plate. I have an extra main plate. I have a bunch of extra of these plates, and then there's a couple like sandwich plates in here, and I have a bunch of extras of those. The one thing that I don't have, I don't have any extra of these arms, which is kind of scary, which is why I was so upset that I bashed into that fucking building, because I thought that I would have hurt one of these arms that I don't have extras for, but the arms survived. But yeah, these camera plates, that might have been a massive mistake. If Bob doesn't have any more of these camera plates, he almost certainly has the STL file that he's in the past been willing to share with me, so like it'll be fine. But just don't do wall rides, you asshole. Stop. Hold on, I gotta back up for this one, or it's gonna clip the mic. Wait, no, hold on. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Stop breaking the law, asshole! Who knows what that's from? I'll give you a hint. It's a Jim Carrey movie. Just don't do wall... Oh, man, I love me a fucking wall ride, though. A good outdoor wall ride. The problem is I haven't flown 5-inch in forever. Yeah, you guys got it. I haven't flown 5-inch in a long time. I'm just not used to it. And just, you know... I fly a lot, and so I'm in my brain. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, wall ride, no big deal. Those are easy. So yeah, just I don't know. Is that a lack of self-control, or is it an overabundance of self-confidence? I don't know. 55-52s, man. These props are ridiculous. Look at these things just ramming through the air. Whopping across this field. Annihilating this 6S 1500 mAh battery. This is the way this thing is meant to be flown, though. These are the speeds that this thing is built to do. So this is exactly what I wanted to do with it. It was good to get a little bit more flight time with it. Little did I know, the front camera plates are all banged up. But hey, it flies good. Flies good on these 55-52s. Hopefully they don't have a bunch of jello. Here's me testing jello again, slowly ramping up the throttle, looking for vibrations that aren't going to show up in the ND filtered GoPro. Sure wish I had that 03 flight footage. It looks, I don't know. It is holding the horizon. It's not wobbling. It's not bobbling around. I'm learning a little bit watching this. Flight characteristics are great. It's certainly fast. Look at that, man. Look at that stop. Oh! Crisp. 2507s. 1850 kV at 90% motor limiting. 55-52s. Big ass props. There you can see the weight of the 55-52s. Big old bobble. Big, big, big prop wash bobble. Don't fly it like that. It's a cinematic rig. You're probably not going to fly it like that. Pretty impressive. I'm pretty happy with the 5552 propellers. Last file. Last battery. I just said it. There was the problem. There was the obvious problem. I said this is the last test that I'm going to do. This is now a Pyrodrone 6S 1600 kV battery that weighs the same as the Tattoo R-Line 1700 and the GNB 6S 1500. These are now the Gemfan 5149-9. This is an old school racing prop. It's super pitchy. 49 pitch, big heavy propeller. It pretty much weighs exactly what the 5152 weighs, but it's a totally different blade profile. Big, big, big prop wash there. Not nearly as bad as the 5552s, but I don't think these propellers handle prop wash as good as the 5152s. So like, but I think these are better balanced. So if the 5552s are not jello-y, I think I would rather run those than these 5149-9s. But, and see, here's where the problem, well, the problem is that I love flying really flat, really fast, really low to the ground. But you can see where this is going by those two throttle blips. I'm not used to flying 40, 45, 50 degrees of up tilt. You can tell where this is going. You know what's going to happen. Getting more comfortable. There it is. There it is. Just, yes. Awesome. Do that. Full fucking throttle. Full throttle into the dirt. And you'll notice that everything gets a little bit brighter. See that? Things are motion blurry. Things are properly exposed. Things are super bright. That would be the ND filter entering orbit. I didn't even bother to go look for it. I was just like, no, a little black ND filter in the middle of the field, not doing it. The camera, the FPV camera is now at 7,000 degrees of, I'm sorry, no, actually, that pushed, well, that pushed 10 tons of dirt and grass into the front of the frame where the camera lives. And that actually put the camera down to like 0 up tilt. So now it's flying very slowly. Let's see.
Rough day of flying, but that's FPV sometimes. I don't know. Which one of these props has the least jello is going to decide which ones awesome. I go with. Oh boy. Should have stayed home and tiny whooped.
There it is. Should have stayed home and tiny whooped. At the end of the day, remember, friends. Should have stayed home and tiny whooped. Jesus Christ, dude. Should have stayed home and tiny whooped, bro. Like, oh boy. I then drove home, and Maggie and I went to a blues dance class, solo blues dancing, and then couples blues dancing. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, man. FPV is humbling, frustrating, maddening, awful, and wonderful all at the same time. So yeah, that was my Saturday. And Bob just got back to me. He doesn't have any of the camera plates, but he is going to send me the files. Ugh! God damn it. Okay, so this rig is now down for... Well, no, I can still figure out. I'll go out one more time with it. Also, on that last crash, it pulled the extra long DJI 03 cable out like this, which is super scary. Yeah, I pulled it all the way out like that. So that's super scary. I gotta figure out a way to retain this inside. I had it kind of like under the ESC, like doing a little S number. I thought that would have enough tension on it, but no. I gotta find a spot to like zip tie, like a standoff to zip tie it to, or something like that. I can't have the wire pulling out like that. That's no good. And so, yeah, I will go back out with this. I will go back out with this. And I will put all of the propellers back onto it. And I now have the memory card in the goddamn 03 VTX. So it will actually record. And I will actually get to see which propellers have jello and which do not. And I will decide, do I want to balance? I should have, I do have a, you know what? Fuck it. Let's check two of these props right now, actually. And let's check the two worst offenders, the 5152 and the 5552. These are the two props that I think have a little bit more jello than any of the others. I just want to pick two that are absolutely fresh. This is a propeller balancing tool from like old school model airplane, basically, days. For some reason, the hardware is not tight on it, which shouldn't matter, but we'll tighten it up anyway. There are a couple of magnets, and you'll see it in a second. So there's this part, and then there's this part, and so you just unscrew one of these guys, put your propeller on, screw this guy back on, and there you go. Now, let me get this centered a little bit better. There we go. Make sure the prop is in there. I mean, these guys being conical, they center the prop really well. And then you snap this in here, and the magnets kind of grab it. And so you just kind of hold this up. I wish this was bigger so that you could spin the prop all the way around, but you really don't need to. And you just kind of bump the propeller like that and see how it... I bumped it a little bit, and it had like a momentum to it. Ooh, this doesn't work very well. Ah, there it was. Did you see that? There. See how it's moving on its own? I'm just going up and down. So there's a heavy spot over here somewhere. And so now we'll take it off and put it back on there. And so now it's spinning the opposite direction. So this propeller is heavy here. So we need to either add weight up here. The smarter way to do it is to remove some weight here. So you can just sit there with like a file and just with a file, just pick a spot and just file a little bit of plastic off. And that's how you kind of balance props. So yeah, we'll see. By shaking it like this, there's a little bit of friction between the magnets and these things. and by shaking it, you're like overcoming that that friction, basically. So this 5152 is actually not that bad. Let me throw the 5552 on here real quick to see how that is. I wish this guy was on... I wish this little tool was on bearings as well. They probably make these that are on... They probably make better prop balancers than this one. I don't know where or when I got this, but it's been sitting on my shelf for so many years. So if I shake this, see how it keeps going in that one direction? That's it telling you that, so it's going in this direction, so that means it's potentially heavy down here. So then we pop it like that, and now yeah, heavy down here. And now it should go the opposite direction. Now it's going this way. Now it's going top to the left. Now it's going top to the right. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for it to rotate this way and then that way, and then you've found your it's heavy on this side. But yeah, I don't know. They don't seem that bad. I haven't tested a lot of... You can't test smaller propellers on this thing. This only works for bigger, heavier propellers because of that amount of friction that it's got. If you want to balance lighter weight, like micro propellers, what I've had somewhat decent luck with is mechanical pencil lead. It's graphite. Graphite is super slippery. So yeah, mechanical pencil lead, and it's also thin enough to go through the 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter hole in a lot of these props. But I actually really don't recommend balancing propellers. It's too much work. And then you're going to have a set of propellers on your quad where you're like, oh, don't crash. I spent an hour balancing these. And so, yeah, I won't willingly sign myself up for balancing propellers, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm most impressed by the 5152s, to be honest. Out of all these propellers that I've run on this thing, the 5152s actually impressed me the most. They're not the best in any one way, but they're really good kind of all-rounders. Like the prop wash performance is pretty good. They're super fast. They have plenty of float. So, yeah. All right. Let me get caught up on chat. Sorry for ignoring you all. Uriel says, thanks, hugs, and kisses. Flyzone says, yes, agreed. Brett Anderson says, 1x1 mounting props with strings through the holes on the nubby Happy Model EX1103s using coat thread. What does that mean? And feeding it through twice, props on. Are you saying that... Wait, what are you saying? Strings through the holes. Are you using string instead of dental floss to try to mount propellers to the 1103s in a way that they won't fly off? The Happy Model 1103s, the motor shafts are kind of short. They've got short shafts, like many of you, I'm sure. I'm sorry. That was mean. Jesus Christ. And propellers just fly off of them. And even scraping up the inside of the propeller with sharp-tipped tweezers, which works on every other tiny whoop that I've ever built, it doesn't quite work well enough. And so I think you got to put a little bit of dental floss on the bottom of the propeller before you put it onto the motor shaft to tighten the fit up a little bit. But I haven't done it quite yet, but it sounds like... Was it Brent Anderson? Yeah, it sounds like Brent Anderson is doing that. So tell us more, friend. Tell us more, Brent. Sounds like that's what you're doing. But you said string. I don't know about the fact that you said string. That confuses me a little bit. This is me still trying to get these motors screwed down to this HGLRC 2-inch frame. I'm very quickly falling out of love with this HGLRC 2-inch 85mm motor-to-motor tiny whoop frame. I sure wish that they had manufactured it properly so that you can actually get the effing screws through here. But it's FPV and it's HGLRC, so, you know, why not just do everything wrong? And then people will have to modify your brand new shit to get it to even work at all. That's fine. Thrash FPV says, is it worth it to get a light meter for cinematic work? Not really. Our cameras have very sophisticated light meters built into them. So if you learn how to use, like, if you learn how exposure works, even better, like if you have a camera that has, a lot of cameras have histograms built in, and like having a histogram, I'll take a histogram over a couple $100 light meter any day of the week, because a histogram doesn't just tell you how much light is coming into like a little bulb. It tells you how hot or cold, how bright or dark the light is throughout the entire exposure. So yeah, just like having a camera that that has manual settings, you can use that as a really good light meter. So I'm gonna say no to that one. If you want to look official, buy a light meter. There's nothing more official looking than somebody with a light meter that knows how to use it. And like nobody can tell if you know how to use it or not. So you can just walk around holding the goddamn thing up and people will be like, damn, that guy knows light. That guy knows what's up. You don't even have to have batteries in it. Just hold it up. Nobody can tell if it's on or not. Denzel Terrible says, Larrikin, Australia, New Zealand, a boisterous, often badly behaved young man. Ah, I did not know that. Australian word. Islander FPV says, did Happy Models send you their new 45mm Prop 2S HDZero AIO bind and fly? They did not, and they haven't gotten back to me from the message that I sent asking them if they need anybody else to create content with it. So don't hold your breath. If they don't send it to me, I don't care. I don't like HDZero. I love that HDZero exists, but I don't like flying HDZero. The improvement in quality over analog is not enough to justify the extra weight, price, complexity, and I hate the way that it breaks up. The way that it breaks up with the defined boxes that are brightly colored is incredibly distracting to me, and so it's just not my thing. So yeah, if I don't get sent one, that's totally fine. If they do want to send me one, I'll absolutely try it out and do a live stream and all that jazz. I love that those guys are making something. I don't like flying it. You know, I've got the HDZero goggles. It feels good to use them on HDZero rather than just as the most expensive set of analog goggles ever. But like every single time I fly HDZero, I'm like, wow, I really don't like this as a way of moving my eyeballs around in three-dimensional space. And so yeah, it drives me crazy that I don't. If I was a racer, I would like it more, but I'm not. I'm 100% freestyle and cinematic, and it's not meant for that. And so, you know, it's like it's like somebody that's into off-roading getting into a Miata and trying to jump it off a dirt ramp. They're not going to like it. It's not for them. So, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that, Islander. Islander calling out that new 2S Mobula 7 comes with 13,000 kV motors instead of the 10,000s that come on the 04 version. That's pretty cool. Those are 1102s, and so now we have another mid kV 1102 option. So that's pretty awesome. That's really good news. That those motors are a higher kV. But yeah, I don't. If they send me one of those, I'll do the things. I'll do the review, but then I will almost certainly pull that thing apart and take those motors and use those motors somewhere else. It's not something that I'll keep together and that I'll really like fly around. So, wow, I managed to get the rest of these motors bolted down. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this last one bolted down. I lied. I just did. So you can bolt motors down to this HGLRC 2-inch frame without sitting here with a file or a Dremel and opening up the holes. But it's very difficult, and you're probably going to strip at least one of your motors out doing it. So you've been warned. I'm already pretty fed up with this frame. I know that the Happy Model Mobula 8 2-inch prop 85mm motor-to-motor frame is kind of weak, but at least it's manufactured in a way that you can actually bolt the motors down without stripping them out. So I will probably move. And also, I don't like how low the battery sits on this HGLRC frame, and I also don't like that they use rubber bands to hold the battery in. So this frame is off to a really bad start. It's already on like strike 3. Motor holes are mismanufactured. Battery sits too low. Battery is held in by rubber bands. 3 strikes already, HGLRC. No surprises there, though. You know, their HGLRC is... I'll say this. They're making sure to not surprise anyone. They're sticking with what they do, which, in my experience over the last like 8 years, is make stuff that either doesn't work or it doesn't work well or catches on fire. I've had an incredibly rough time with everything that I've bought from HGLRC over the years. And I've heard that from quite a few people too. So that's not just me being a hater. I continue to buy HGLRC stuff because they continue to make stuff that has the potential of being really good. And so every like year I go, well, they can't possibly still make everything they make can't still possibly be trash. I'm sure this next thing that I'm about to spend my money on will be fine. Luckily, someone sent this to me, so I did not pay for this. But there you go. The motors are bolted up. I'm going to transfer. The AIO canopy camera VTX in this guy where I broke the. Oh wait, no. I guess this one I didn't break the ducts. What is this? Oh, right. This is this has the iFlight Defender motors on it. This is the setup where I realized that 1002s are not quite enough stator volume for a 2-inch setup with 04 on the 2-inch props. These 1002s are going to go onto a 1.6-inch frame because that's where the 1002s are the best matched. 1.6-inch props, smaller, lighter, 75mm motor-to-motor frame. So yeah, this is going to come out and go into here, but I think first I'm going to put it into once it goes into this setup with these Happy Model 1103s, it's probably going to stay because these Happy Model 1103 11,000 kV motors with 2-inch propellers. I really like the tri-blade version of these. Is unbelievable. Patrons, you guys have access to a rough cut of the California edit, where I flew this setup in the modular frame, but still 2-inch setup, around Long Beach and San Pedro in like 15-20 mile an hour winds, and it was awesome. Like, it was getting kicked around by the wind for sure, but I was able to edit enough of that out to have something really, really cool, very watchable from a little kid's toy. So yeah, once it ends up back here, it'll probably stay, unless the battery being down really low drives me insane enough, and then I'll snag another one of these Mobula 8 frames. But I want to spend a little bit of time with this rig back on the smaller frames with the smaller motors, with the smaller props, and so I'm going to put it back into the Mobula 704 frame. This is almost the exact same setup that this thing came with right out of the box. I want to revisit this to see how good it is, because I've been putting a whole bunch of batteries through this with the 2-inch setup, and I really like it. But the lighter weight setup is also really, really good, especially like for like in tight flying out in front of the house, behind the house, that kind of stuff. Apache Smoke Wounded Snipers in the house. What's up, homie? Benny Bravo says, you literally described 90% of my flight days. Oh, well, I still love this shit. Yeah, it's a lot, man. Striker says, I was saving up for DJI to buy into it for 5-inch, and with the whole situation with DJI, do you have any recommendations for what system I should pick instead? Not with no info. Which video system you pick is a fiercely independent decision. There are pluses and minuses for every single system. I've talked about it in the past. Analog is super cheap, super low latency, and it teaches you how to fly better than any of the rest, because you get to see the breakup at the instant that it happens. So for getting good, analog is awesome. Walksnail is very similar to like old school DJI, but a little bit better. Old school DJI, the Vistas are readily available, and they're really damn good. Super durable too. HDZeros for racers. 0304 is for really good range and image quality. Those are the main like strengths of the different systems. But yeah, I can't. I usually do a full, like when somebody books like a half an hour of my time to do build planning, the majority of that half an hour will be spent talking about video systems, talking about all of the pluses and minuses of the video systems, asking them what their plan is. So yeah, that is like a one-on-one conversation that easily takes 15 to 20 minutes. So I can't do it from one sentence. Striker also says, I'm in the US, by the way, if you didn't know, so that's the DJI situation that I'm referencing. Apache Smoke says, can't stay long, but have a great stream, bro. Thank you, dude. You're probably already gone, but thanks for all the work that you continue to do on the with the timestamps. Striker also says, how does Walksnail compare to DJI for 5-inch? Thoughts on the best 5-inch analog gear for decent penetration? Again, that's too big of a conversation to kind of have. And there is no such thing as best. There's just different. Walksnail is really good, but it'll never. One of the other things to think about is that Walksnail will never match DJI in terms of quality control. And so with Walksnail stuff, it's, you won't find Walksnail on any sort of a professional set, basically, is I guess what I'm saying. And that matters. So Denzel the Terrible says, did you smoke a cell? Nope. Luckily, just chewed up some of the wires that I fixed last night. Tamava says, would you ever use biblades over the triblades on your cinematic rigs for even more efficiency, or all the rigs just too heavy and that wouldn't be worth losing the lift of the tri? So biblades don't have any. There are plenty of lifters picking up massive payloads on biblades. There's nothing about a biblade that's going to prevent it from lifting a ton of weight. So that's a super common misconception that that like a tri-blade will just lift more payload than a biblade. It's not true. Biblades are typically slightly higher in pitch than tri-blades, and so each blade is going to make more thrust. And so the fact that there's only two blades, that's going to kind of even it up. If you're looking at a biblade and a tri-blade that are the exact same pitch, yeah, the biblade's going to make less power, but the biblade's going to be able to spin at a higher RPM, even on the same motors, because it's creating less drag, and that's going to offset that. So in most cases, a biblade will make just as much thrust, and in most cases, we're not at full throttle just to get it off the ground. So don't worry about that. Don't ever worry about a biblade not making enough thrust. It almost always will. The two big things when it comes to bis versus tris is biblades are typically a lot worse balanced than tri-blades, just inherently because you have two big long sticks versus three. If one of those two sticks is a little bit out of balance, it's going to make the whole damn thing out of balance. With a tri-blade, if one of the blades is out of balance, it's just in the manufacturing process, it is easier to make a tri-blade. It is easier to make a propeller with an odd number of blades balanced than it is a propeller with an even number of blades, I guess is the easiest way I can put it. So there's that, which matters a lot with cinematic rigs, because jello will completely ruin footage. And so if like during transit one of the blades gets bent a little bit or nicked or something like that, just inherently biblades have more of a chance of creating jello, either fresh out of the pack or after you've been through an airport, throwing your bag around, shit like that, right? So that's the hardest thing for most people with biblades, is finding a set that are well balanced enough. The other big thing about biblades versus tri-blades is biblades will be more slippery, tri-blades will be more grippy. More slippery sounds like a bad thing. It isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm really excited to build, hopefully, a biblade 3.5-inch live broadcast rig for chasing the cyclists, because the cross breezes will push the biblades a lot less, and I have a feeling that I'll be able to track a straighter line with that rig. We'll see. But yeah, if you're going to be flying in a lot of wind, biblades might actually be a better choice, because any kind of a cross breeze or even a head-on breeze is going to slip right past the biblades a lot easier than it'll go past tri-blades. If you're going to be doing a lot of cornering, then you might want the tri-blades. With a biblade, if you want to corner flat specifically, it's not going to want to dig in and turn. It's going to want to keep sliding sideways. You can use that to your advantage, which I try to do a lot in the live broadcast stuff. I'll try to slide sideways a lot and provide like a little bit, different of a sort of option for the director to kind of take a different look. And so biblades, it's a different flight experience, and you can, and you should work with that. And so just keep that in mind. More slipperiness with the biblades, more grip with the tri-blades. Those are the two ways that you should choose 2 versus 3 blade, versus 4 versus 5 versus 6. Good question, brother. Denzel the Terrible says that you should print a bunch of those balance lead holders for orders and giveaways. That's true. That is true. If I open a tab with Thingiverse, I'll remember to actually do it. Yeah, they're all over Thingiverse, of course. I want to find the exact one that I have, though. Good call, brother. Denzel the Terrible says you should put some feetsies on that quad so you aren't landing on the camera housing too. So I have a kind of a funny setup on this thing. Usually I run the arm protectors on the front because you hit your front arms more often. This being a cinematic rig, I shouldn't be hitting brick buildings at all. So I shouldn't need to protect the front arms. I put these guys on the rear arms because they have a little bit of thickness, and when this thing sits down, instead of the receiver antenna being the lowest point, these guys are the lowest point. So it actually sits on these little fellas. Up front here, I usually have a piece of foam here for it to sit on that, but that gets ripped off pretty quickly. What I realized this last time is I can just take, let me show you guys a little trick. Hot glue guns are super annoying, but lighters are fun. And so get your little hot glue stick and just do that. And you can get it super hot, and then you can just stick it against stuff. And you stick it against something, it'll stick to that thing, and then you pull it off and go in a little circle, and then you've got a nice blob of hot glue on there. And so I did that on both of these screws down here, socket head screws, and it actually worked really, really well. I got it I got the whole tip of it hot and mashed it on there and then pulled it out. Blah, 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 blah. It's a little bit ugly when you do that. You can then put it vertical like this and then add a little bit more heat and it'll round itself out. And I made two little fetuses on there that eventually got ripped off. I ripped them off. They were still functioning after all those crashes that you guys just saw. And I've actually got some black glue sticks on order. I'm going to start doing that on all of the contact points on like all of my rigs, is just adding a little tiny dab of nice soft hot glue. So yeah, there you go. There's a little solution for it. But right now I ripped both of the hot glue things off because they got all mangled. And so right now, when I put it down on the desk, it hits on these, which sucks. But yeah, that's my solution for this guy. Pretty good solution. It's I feel like that glue is a little heavy. And so, yeah, we'll see. But worked well. Uriel says, if in the morning the universe talks like that, do something. Save gardening? I could have gardened. I don't like gardening, but I could have. Weebleed says, did you get my package yet? If not, it's coming. Happy Sunday, GG's. I did not. I'm excited to get it, though. I don't know if you want me to talk about what's in it, so I won't. But something cool in there. Striker says, is that the Lego MP4 in the back? I'm surprised I've never noticed it. It is. That was a Christmas present that I finished up like a week ago or so. Yeah, it's really, really cool. You even build a little stand. They give you a little stand to build to hold the damn thing at a 45-degree angle. I haven't pulled it off the stand yet. I assume it's easy. That was pretty easy. They've got the flat floor, which is kind of cool. And then just some of like the highlights here. They give you a little tiny Ayrton Senna. This is, for those of you that are not complete and utter car nerds, this is the most famous of the 80s era. I believe this is 80s era Formula One cars that arguably the best driver to ever live, Ayrton Senna, very famously drove. This was not the car that or livery that he was killed in, unfortunately. But yeah, very, very, very famous. One of the most famous F1 cars of all time, immortalized in Lego. This is a really cool build. They did some really neat. Lego always does like really cool stuff, like to create this angle and to make this kind of look like a dual element wing. They did something like really cool down here. And then they've got these really cool pieces for the double wishbone suspension, which you're gonna have a hard time seeing. There you go. And the way they mounted these are pretty cool. Suspension doesn't work, but the steering kind of works. Yeah, this is really fun to build, man. And then there is an engine under here, but the engine cover, I wish they'd done a little bit of a better job with making the engine cover removable. Although, let me see, I haven't... that was pretty easy. I lied. They did it. They did a good job. The engine, it looks like a fucking, it looks like the space shuttle. But yeah, the engine is removable. I'm sorry, the engine cover is removable, and then they always have you build a somewhat detailed little engine in here. And yeah, this is one of the Honda powered 16,000 RPM, I believe. V6 turbocharged era F1 cars. Super fun little build. Little tiny shifter in here. Actually, this is when they changed gears manually. 3-pedal cars back then. Ridiculous. Absolutely absurd. I'm putting this on backwards, am I not? Sure am. Sure am putting that on backwards. I was putting it on as if it were a space shuttle. Yeah, really cool stuff. See if I can get it back onto the stand without blowing it up. Oh shit, where does the stand go? I guess it goes into here. Yeah, it's got to go into there. Hey, look at that. And the stand has like a cool sticker talking about Ayrton. Oh wait, no, here we go. 88. Honda RA168E 1.5 liter turbo engine. Jesus Christ. I knew they were light. I didn't realize they were this light. 540 kilograms. It's 1,000 pounds, my friends. I don't think these were quite into the 1,000 horsepower realm, but 800 or 900. Easy 800 or 900. Yeah, very, very cool Lego model. It was really fun to build. Upstairs, I now have my Lego F40 that I had built for a long time, and then I got a headlight and taillight kit for it. And you got to pull it apart to put that headlight and taillight kit in, and I didn't do it. But now it's up on the dining room table, so I'll do it. That'll be fun. There's where you guys remembered that it's from Liar Liar. I was quoting Liar Liar, I should say. Uriel says, everybody has a lot of bad days. Every home has his cross. Flurk and the Blurk with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much for the support, my friend. CiottiFPV.com is the main spot that you guys can support me. Join my Patreon. That is the best way that you can make sure that I can afford to keep doing this. The Patreon has gotten hammered, probably because I had a bunch of gigs in a row and I missed a whole bunch of live streams. So if you have a couple extra dollars to keep this thing going, CiottiFPV.com, hit the Patreon button. You can join for as little as $3 a month. That's only 10 cents a day. I guarantee you that I will save you at least $3 a month, preventing you from buying HGLRC stuff or just buying the right stuff so you don't have to spend $50 on a ESC that catches on fire. So hook a brother up, join my Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get in on giveaways. You don't even have to be on the live streams. You'll just do that. You'll be on that tier. You'll win. I'll mail you a bunch of stuff. You go to the mailbox, you got like $50, $60 worth of free stuff waiting for you. That made sense, didn't it? You made out like a bandit. Fluck and the Blurk says, starting to think 40,000 kV motors for my first whoop is a bit much. Oh, it is. You don't need to think that. It's just a fact. Also, any tips to get my battery balanced under the whoop? Always seems to tilt up. Tilt up? It's going to depend on the frame. You should absolutely motor limit those down. Motor limit those to like 80% or something at least. I don't know what you mean by tilt up. Tell me what frame it is, and I can maybe try to figure that out. Striker says, are you planning on going to Rampage or no? I'm curious. If they want me to come do Micro Mayhem, I probably will. I almost certainly will. If they don't, and I would have to buy tickets, absolutely not. A, I can't afford that. B, I've been to Rampage 4 times. I like somebody else can have that ticket and go have a great time. Brent Anderson says thread swing / coat craft thickness instead of dental floss. Wow. Did you try dental floss and it wasn't thick enough to keep the props from flying off? That's insane. I haven't tried dental floss yet. Oh, sewing, not swing, Brent says. Sewing thread. Sewing / coat craft thickness thread. Damn. Let me know if dental floss didn't work. Swisslink says 3.5 inch, something similar as I usually fly. That was at 4:30. I don't remember what I was talking about 10 minutes ago. I don't remember what that's in reference to. Zeft says I got a Happy Model X 12 AIO that won't stay connected to Betaflight. It keeps getting disconnected. I use Betaflight 10.9, 10.10. All gives me the same problem. What are your thoughts? If that's the only AIO or flight controller that does that, it's physically broken. You can try like reflowing it, but I don't know, man. It's on its way out. It's gonna let go all the way sooner than later. So just beat the snot out of it and it'll die, and then you can move on. If all of your flight controllers are doing that, that's a whole different conversation. But if that's the only one that's doing it, then it's physically broken. Try cleaning the USB port. That could be it. You can do a lot in the OSD. So if you can get it to stay connected for long enough to the point where it's flyable, you're good. You can do the rest of your adjustments in the goggle OSD. Pitch forward, yaw left will get you in there, and then features and profile and lots of options in there. So just try to get it to the point that it's flyable, and then do everything else in the OSD. Schrager says, yes, sir. He won his first World Championship against Alain Prost in the same car in '88 with his car. Yeah, him and Prost's battle was pretty epic. I didn't like. I was very young in the late '80s, early '90s, but I do remember some of that era F1 from when I was growing up, which is really cool. One of those dominant cars in F1 history won 15, 16 races. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. Flurk and the Blurk with 2 more super chats. Thank you, dude. He says, Air 65 frame, always need to pitch forward to stay level. Now that's weird. Regardless of how off your center of gravity is, once you put a pitch in, that pitch is going to stay. The PID loop is going to push all the way up to 100% throttle to keep it at that same pitch. So if you've got a build, so you must be in angle or horizon mode or something. The air mode does not work like that. Air mode will push the motors so hard and the ESC so hard that it falls out of the sky before it changes the pitch on you and forces you to push the pitch back forward. So there's got to be something else going on there. That's not a CG issue. You've got to be like accidentally in either angle or horizon mode or something weird's going on like that. Zeft with the $2 super chat says, thank you. You're certainly welcome. Thank you. Yeah. And it sounds like usually the CG is too far forward. And that would make it that would mean that you would need to be pulling back on the pitch. So there's something going on. Flurk of the Burke says, also be right back joining the Patreon. Thank you, dude. Very cool of you. You'll be joining the gangliest of all the gangs. Welcome to the gangly gang, my friend. Uriel says, only spoiled kids can win F1. Sort of. If you and me with that money, we would be 1 and 2. That is not true at all. The second part of that is not true at all. But little known fact is that F1 drivers almost never are just super talented and broke or not broke, but like poor or even middle class. Full stop. Like pretty much every F1 driver has had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a seat, to just get into that world. Lewis Hamilton in recent history is one of the very few Formula One drivers that didn't just like full blown come from money, but his father spent a lot of money to get him a seat in a Formula One team, and they got a lot of sponsorships. But one of the most amazing things about Lewis Hamilton is he did not like full tilt come from money. Most Formula One drivers, parents are millionaires and put them into karting really early on. Lewis Hamilton's father was not. They were on a super shoestring budget for many years. And that's very rare. And so, yeah, that's a part of the amazing story that is Lewis. And he's also not an asshole, which is awesome. So, yeah, he's a pretty... I shouldn't say that, though. There are a bunch of Formula One drivers that are not assholes now. But he's specifically, like, not an asshole. Swisslink says, comment was about the live broadcast rig you plan, and it was a hint onto the most flown rig I fly. I gotcha. Very cool. Uriel says, the JP special with the front wheels, great, then it went wrong, regulations. Yeah, JP special being John Player special, that's the black and gold livery that is arguably the best livery to ever come, just the best livery of all time. So goddamn cool. Phil Bradley says, you ever seen the onboard of Senna driving Monaco in 1988? Looks like it's filmed on a tiny whoop, but still amazing footage. I don't know if I've seen that specific one, but I've seen a good amount of onboard of Senna, and it's otherworldly. All Formula One drivers are on a similar level, but Senna was very well known for being, he was called like the Rain Master, I believe. Formula One cars in the rain are a different level of difficulty, and to be good in the rain is, to be as good as he was in the rain is pretty rare. And that is one of the things that people very quickly turn to when they try to say that he's the best driver that's ever lived. They might be right. It's a hard designation to make, though. I don't, to my knowledge, I don't think he did any rally. Like there are other forms of motorsport that are as difficult as Formula One, just in different ways. Maybe we could say. I don't know. The amount of G-force and the demand on your reaction time within Formula One is on another level. But who says that is driving, right? Like, you could make a strong argument that like rally is the truest form of driving, because it involves not just smooth paved roads, right? Not just fancy circuit tracks, but hurtling through the woods in between trees and rocks at 100+ miles an hour. So like, yeah, it's hard to like full blown say like, oh yeah, Senna was almost certainly the best Formula One driver to ever live. But you could argue that too. I mean, there are other drivers that have won more championships than him. Most of them didn't die as early in their career as he did. But yeah, I don't know. An awful lot of extremely talented Formula One drivers and just drivers in general have said that Senna is the best of all time, and that holds a lot of weight. So yeah, I don't know. But in recent times, there are, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Michael Schumacher. There are a number of drivers that, when you look at their performances and it's just like, wow, yeah, they're potentially every bit as good. And like, for a driver to not be able to live out the rest of his career? It's hard to say. It's hard to say because maybe a year after Senna had died, his reflexes would have faded and he would have had a very short-lived career. And then it would have been like, yeah, he definitely wasn't the best driver of all time because he wasn't able to win anywhere near as many championships as Lewis or Max or Schumacher. It's my favorite. At one point, Chris Harris pronounced, or no, it was one of the Top Gear guys. I think it was Clarkson actually. Pronounced Michael Schumacher's last name as Schumacher, and it's just makes me laugh. Uriel says, I'll check on Hamilton. I want to go for the Islands of Man when they have the circuit racing on my VFR. The Aprilia is gone. That's some scary shit. All right, friends. Enough of this boring car talk. We'll fly a couple batteries, and then we'll get up out of here. We did I wanted to fly the Race V2 rig the other day, but then I dropped it and it bounced farther away than I could reach, and so we didn't fly it. So we're gonna fly this. This is the Newbie Drone Hummingbird Race V2, the new one. And we're just gonna do a couple quick batteries here as a little send-off for this Sunday live stream. I hope that's okay with you. If it's not, insult your audience. That's the spirit. Hey. All right, here we go. Newbie Drone Race V2. Hardcore racing rig being flown freestyle. Very confusing, but let's do it anyway. Oh, I have the door closed over there because I was screaming earlier. Only basement flying this afternoon. Here we go. Okay. One of the motors didn't fire up there. That was a little odd. And then it was in angle mode. All right, hold on one second. Let me just change everything. Let me just try. Where's the gate there? Let me just try to get used to this after having flown a couple days worth of 5.5 inch. Oh my god, it went through. It went in between, I should say. Look at that. Look at that product placement. Oh my god, it's got so much fucking power. The power to weight ratio of this rig is just stupid. Oh, really? What? Alright, one of the motors is, or one of the ESC channels is starting to act up on this thing. Ooh, I tried to I tried to practically tail whip it through that gate. Oh my god, yo! So when I cut the fiber op line coming into the house the other night, and we didn't and we didn't have internet for a night, I busted out the DVDs, as you do, and when I was trying to figure out what to watch, there was only one option. I don't know if this is gonna work. Oh! There were plenty of options, but this is the option that I chose. Hold on, I'm trying to. Oh god, that neck is looking gnarly. There it was. Did you catch it? So I have the first 3 seasons of an old MTV show called Rob and Big, which is chronicles Rob Dyrdek and Christopher Big Black Boykin living together and just the general shenanigans that they get into. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. It's just comedy, man. It's just 2 funny dudes doing some funny stuff. And Florence and I have watched. We watched the first 2 seasons, and now we're about halfway through the 3rd season. And it's every bit as funny as I remember. We're buddies! Anybody else remember that show? I don't know what just happened. I tried to do a power loop, but I had to make a big correction. And then that correction was a disaster. I certainly did not need to disarm there. But I did anyway. 2 minutes and 46. This thing is hard to fly. This has a Bri-Brain mount on it to save a bunch of weight and to hold the camera perfectly level at 25 degrees of up tilt. One more battery, friends. Fly your 6 batteries today. Don't be a jerk like me and only fly 2. Oh my god! Oh my god, the response time is just outrageous. Oh god, get off the ceiling, little bro! Too much power. This literally is too much power. This power to weight ratio is too much for freestyle. Like, that's too much. That's too much. That's fun though. Turbo Matty flip. That's not even really a Matty flip. There you go. Oh! Did it go through there? No. No way. It just went next to it. There's no way it went through there. There's no fucking way. Holy shit on a shingle. Oh. Sometimes you just gotta fly backwards, bro. Turbo Matty flip. Yikes. Turbo Matty flips all day, bro. Oh god. There is just something so cool about blasting through these gates inverted where like the ceiling looks like the floor. I will never, that will never get old to me. That's such a cool freestyle look. I'm stuck in the stands. Come on, let me out. Let me out, stands. Thank you, stands. Jesus Christ. One more turbo Matty flip. No, come on, get down. Oh shit. Woo! Oh my god. Sometimes you just gotta have some fun and completely kill a 300 mAh battery in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Oh shit, man. That is way too fun. Yeah, rest in peace, Big Black, man. He was just too big. Motherfucker was 400. He was 6'7", 420 pounds. 416 pounds, I think he weighed in the first episode. And he just didn't. I mean, they tried a little bit for a couple of the episodes to for him to drop some weight, and he didn't want to. He wanted to be big, bro. And like, you know, you do you. It's your life. You can do whatever you want. It's on you. I'm sure all of his friends and family would love it if he was still around, but it's your life. Ooh. So I put the True RC, the new True RC lightweight antenna in this rig, and it's taken a bit of a beating. I don't know about that. I don't know how much longer that antenna is going to last. I'll show you where it's starting to let go, so that if you've got one of these antennas, you can beef it up so that this doesn't happen. it is starting to fail. I don't think I'm going to be able to show it to you in the rig, but it's starting to fail right here. Right here. So if you get one of these TrueRC antennas, you should put a blob of E6000 right here. Hugo is making these UFL and then a little bit of heat shrink here. And then this is a blob of solder. And this blob of solder here is where it's starting to shit the bed. So beef these antennas up with a blob of E6000 here, and they're going to be a little bit heavier, but a lot more durable. So do that if you've got these TrueRC antennas, because they're kind of expensive. I think it's a $20 antenna. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong. There you go, friends. Thanks for hanging out. CiottiFPV.com to support me. Hit some affiliate links. Change your bookmarks to the affiliate links. Join my Patreon. Buy something from my Etsy store, Teespring store. Lots of different ways you can support me and get yourself some cool stuff in the process. Cool? I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. Have an excellent end of your weekend. Here's a little bit more of... a little bit more cinegliding. I don't know which props these are. I'll send you out with the heartbreak of the very first Cineglide battery. When I crash, I will I'll change scenes. Thanks for hanging, friends. Thanks for supporting me. I'll see you tomorrow night. Blah 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 blah. Not flying, not flying, not flying, flying.